Welcome, listeners, to another heart-stopping, face-melting episode of Superheroes Movies and Superhero Movies. This features on the 1997 film Batman and Robin, directed by Joel Schumacher, written by Akiva Goldsman, who surprisingly also wrote A Beautiful Mind, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, George Clooney, Chris O'Donnell, Uma Thurman, Alicia Silverstone, Michael Goff, Pat Hingle, and the unforgettable performance by Jeep Swenson as Bane.
All right, Batman and Robin. We were not looking forward to this episode because it's Batman and Robin.
Speak for yourself. I actually was. No, I really wasn't, but I kind of was because it had been so long since I'd seen it, and I was like, I wanted to see how bad it was.
Right.
And I noted, actually, in my notes that while I'm watching the first, the beginning portions of the movie, I was like enjoying seeing how bad it was.
Uh-huh.
But that lasted about 5 minutes.
Sure.
And I was like, oh, dear. I've got another 2 hours of this.
Right.
Yeah.
Before we get into Batman and Robin, though, I do want to point out we got a couple new reviews on iTunes. So we want to say thank you to that, to them, the people who wrote those reviews. They were very kind. We got 3 new 5-star reviews, which is amazing.
We did. This was... My heart melted with these. Thank you so much.
This one, I love the title of this one. This one is from Reformed Baptist, and it was back on August 13th, so I apologize. We're just now getting to this. But his title was The Spider-Man 2 of Podcasts, which could not be a higher compliment, I don't think. It's that's an awesome title.
Right, that one stunned me. Thank you very much. And I don't remember if I said this in the Spider-Man 2 podcast, but taking away the Dark Knight from comic book movies, I would say I consider Spider-Man 2 to probably be my favorite comic book movie.
Yeah.
To this day.
It's definitely up there for me. For sure. He ended his review with we should do for commentary. I didn't really read that. He said absolutely great commentary for Jurassic Park, which I'm glad somebody listened to that. That was a lot of fun to do. And he says we should do another one either for Captain America Winter Soldier or Guardians of the Galaxy, which that would be a lot of fun, I think. When we did the Jurassic Park commentary, we were in the same room, whereas we Skype all these other episodes, so we haven't figured out necessarily if it's possible yet, but we're going to try it.
Sure.
And then the other 2 reviews, one is by Eat, Sleep, Ride 1212 from August 19th. His title was Amazing Podcast, 5 stars. And then from Mito Man 68, best podcast I've listened to, which is unbelievable. So thank you for those reviews. You guys are awesome. And thank you for the feedback, too. So, we always say if you, like us, or even if you don't like us, please tell us how we're doing on iTunes. We always appreciate it.
One of those reviews mentioned a request for the Mission Impossible movies.
Oh, yes.
Which, I'm sure we'll get to those. I've only seen the first 3.
What?
Yeah, I know, right? I still haven't seen Ghost
Protocol?
But I'd say those are worthy of some podcasts.
Absolutely. I really enjoy those movies. And, we try to... Obviously, we're called superheroes movies and superhero movies. We tend to try to do more superhero movies than anything. But I know, we've gotten... Some folks have asked us about Lord of the Rings movies, which we plan on doing. I know we've... so we're talking about doing Raiders of the Lost Ark. So we're definitely going to fit a lot of these movies in. Hopefully, it's just...
Harry Potter.
Yeah, so... We have a long list of films to try to
really anything that is considered geeky,
right?
I think will get covered.
Uh-huh.
And some blockbusters as well that would maybe not be considered geeky. Like
Right,
Mission Impossible.
Right. Yeah. Pretty much just any movie we enjoy. Well, I was going to say enjoy, but then now we're talking about Batman and Robin. So,
unfortunately, Batman and Robin is a comic book movie, so
right,
it has to go in the list.
We are obligated.
But yeah,
Plus
really, any movie that has a love, a big following,
sure,
or whatever, it'll probably be covered.
So Batman and Robin came out in 1997, and I hate to admit this, but when it came out, I liked it. But I think it really had less to do with the movie as a whole as it did. I was thinking about this earlier today. Number one, I was like, it was the summer of '97, so I was probably 13. And we didn't get nearly as many superhero movies back in '97 as we did now. In fact, the only superhero movies really were the Batman movies. So Batman Forever came out in '95, and then this one came out in '97, and I think it was just because it was Batman that I was excited to see it. I saw it. I think I saw it a couple of times, and I bought like the toys and everything, and I bought the soundtrack, and I even had the movie poster on my wall. I got a free movie poster one time when I was up in Michigan, and my grandparents took us to like this little video store, and they had a couple of free they were giving them away or something, and so I had it on my wall for a long time. But at the same time, I think, I kind of knew it was bad. I knew it wasn't as good as Batman Forever, and I knew it was definitely not as good as Batman. But I just think it was because it was a new Batman movie that I, kind of got caught up in it.
Right. Yeah, I was super stoked about it. You had a new Batman movie coming out. I enjoyed Batman Forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember a whole lot about how I felt about it. I'm pretty sure I did like it as well.
Uh-huh.
And pretty much echoing what you said, knew that it wasn't as good as the others, but it was Batman.
Right.
And it was a summer movie, back when you were a kid. These, and like you said, superhero movies were just Batman. We didn't even have Superman. I mean, Superman, the movies were out, but we hadn't had those
in over 10
movie-going
years.
experiences.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Like we did with Batman. And so to have this come out was a big event. And I think a lot of that excitement, too, kind of came with it, and the experience was enjoyable, going to go see Batman.
Yeah, I agree with that.
The advertisements.
Getting the cups from Taco Bell with the characters on them and stuff.
Right.
They even had like the little... I remember Taco Bell had the big cups that they don't make anymore. And they had like the little Monopoly peel-off pieces. They had some sort of game going on with those Batman cups. I can't remember, like you had to match pieces together or something in order to get free stuff. Or sometimes you might pull one off and it was like a free soft taco or something, But, so yeah, I was all, like you said, I loved Batman Forever. And Batman Forever, I bought those toys and went to McDonald's and got those glass mugs. And so when the new one comes out, I wanted to do all that stuff again, It was exciting, like you said. It was just like a new Batman movie, and you got to do all those kind of things again, and it was fun. But then once the dust kind of settles, I guess you could say, you look back on it and you realize it's really not very good. And I actually used to kind of defend it, I think, a little bit. Like, not in my adult life, I would say, but maybe in, like, high school life. People would talk about how bad Batman and Robin was, and I'd be like, it's not that bad. And then I think I don't know, I probably hadn't seen it since '97. And, and then you rewatch it and you go, you can't even, it's like hard to get through. Like you said, you're like, at first you're like, this is funny bad.
Right.
And then you're like, okay, now it's just getting tedious.
Right. That's the thing that shocked me. this movie was a milestone in cinema, because usually a bad movie is bad in parts, sections. You get breaks.
Right.
This movie never stops being bad. Line after line, decision after decision is just horrible.
Yeah. And, Joel Schumacher's actually flat out apologized for making the movie, which I think is hilarious. But he has stated time and again that the studio was pressuring him to make a more family-friendly Batman. Batman Returns, I don't think it did well, but I don't think it got a lot of good feedback. I know, I think parents weren't really happy with Batman Returns because they thought it was too dark for their children and everything. And then Batman Forever comes out, and it's much more lighthearted.
Right.
And everybody went nuts over it. So the studio was like, oh, well, we need to make this even more family-friendly. I don't know why they would think that. Why wouldn't they just say, keep it where it's at, where you had Batman Forever, just keep it right there. And, like you said, and we really enjoyed Batman Forever when it came out. Looking back on it now, it goes a little too far towards the campy direction.
It does, but my goodness, compared to this,
right?
It's I actually throw in Batman Forever in the original 3 movies just because of how separate this one is.
Yeah,
it's just insane.
Yeah, and so so I don't know if that obviously went into the script. And I don't know whose idea it was to have Mr. Freeze, every line out of Mr. Freeze's mouth be some sort of cold pun or ice pun. That was just a horrible decision.
It is. A lot of them don't even make sense.
No. So
one of them was, I think it was at the very beginning of the movie, Robin's on the rocket, and Mr. Freeze ditches the rocket, and his word as he's leaving, I'm assuming instead of sleep well, is freeze well.
That's probably true. There's so many I can't even can't even count them. I feel like,
and I was thinking this too. I'm wondering if they actually cast Arnold Schwarzenegger because they had written this character to be a one-liner fanatic. And, at the time, and
right.
It still is,
sure.
Arnold Schwarzenegger is the one-liner king.
Yeah.
So they're like, who else to play Mr. Freeze but the one-liner king, Arnold Schwarzenegger? He'll knock him dead.
I don't know. I don't know whose idea it was to cast Arnold. I remember a long time ago Arnold talking about how he accepted the role because he really wanted to work with Joel Schumacher. I remember he also got paid $20 million, so I'm sure that didn't hurt his decision making at all, or his decision to go with it.
Yeah, I would have taken it.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Just it was interesting. I was before the movie came out, I was excited to see Mr. Freeze. Poison Ivy, in my opinion, and I hope I don't offend anybody with this, has always been kind of more of a B character in terms of Batman's villains.
Really?
Yeah.
I like Poison Ivy a lot.
Do you?
Yeah.
She's good in the Arkham games, but
you didn't like her in the animated series?
No, I never. Her episodes were never I always wanted to skip those.
Yeah.
I was always kind of disappointed when I remember actually the summer of '97 watching a lot of animated series reruns, and always being disappointed when I turned the TV on that day and it was a Poison Ivy episode.
Interesting. But, I always enjoyed. I don't think there was really an animated series episode that I
didn't like.
But then again, I don't know how much of how many seasons I saw. I know I saw season 1 multiple times.
Sure.
Probably season 2. I'd have to go and watch season 3 and see if I had stopped watching at that point or what. But season 1 she was in.
Yeah.
and I know that all of season 1 is great, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I mean it's fantastic. I could probably watch them now, the Poison Ivy episodes, and enjoy them. But back then, I just didn't really care for her character. So that being said, I wasn't super pumped to see Poison Ivy in this film, but at the same time, I knew that they were kind of almost, running out of villains. They had, Joker, Penguin, Catwoman, Two-Face, and Riddler so far. And it's funny because after this movie came out, I remember reading rumors that the next one was going to have Scarecrow and I don't think it was Ra's al Ghul or Ra's al Ghul, depending on what you're playing or watching or reading. But I remember Scarecrow. They said Scarecrow was going to be the next one, which is funny because in Batman Begins, it's Scarecrow.
It is, and that what's when I was a kid. I don't remember if it was after 89 or Returns. I'm pretty sure it was after 89, though. I was able to predict which villain was going to be in the movie. I'm pretty sure I was like, the next one's going to be Penguin, because in the show, you had the Adam West show.
Yeah.
Penguin is probably the next popular one.
Right.
And then they threw in Catwoman as well. And then after that one, I was like, next one's going to be Riddler.
Right.
Which it was. Didn't guess Two-Face, because, multiple villains and stuff. The next one, I was like, Mr. Freeze is going to be the next one. There he was. And then the fifth one, I was like, Scarecrow.
Yeah.
And I didn't actually know about the rumor that he was going to be in their next one, but I was very excited to see that he ended up being in Begins, because I was like, man, I just keep nailing it. And then, of course, I guessed the Dark Knight. I was like, the Joker.
Right, of course. Even though they hinted that at the end of Batman Begins. Well, the rumor was that Scarecrow was going to be in the next one, and he was going to be played by Howard Stern, which I thought was going to be ridiculous. Because it would have just been Batman and Robin 2, It would have been campy, horrible like that. And thankfully, this movie didn't do well, and so we never got that version. I really wish I could remember what the other villain was. It might have been Ra's al Ghul or Ra's al Ghul, but I can't remember who they said was going to play it, but yeah. So, very interesting.
I was stoked about Bane too.
Oh yeah,
because I had just discovered who Bane was.
Mm-hmm.
I had gotten a comic that was not the issue where Bane breaks his back.
Yeah,
but it was a Bane issue, and it referenced to that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, this guy's awesome.
Yeah. I knew who Bane was. I knew he was a Batman villain, and I knew what he looked like, but I didn't know anything about him. So I wasn't horribly offended by the portrayal of Bane in this movie when I first saw it. It wasn't until later that I realized Bane was, a lot smarter and more intelligent than he's portrayed in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bane, played by the late Jeep Swenson, who I guess was a wrestler back in the day, perhaps, but sadly passed away right after this movie. So this is, unfortunately, I believe, his last role. But he was a big dude. And it's a shame that they really did that with Bane, because, you listen to interviews with Joel Schumacher, and he seems like he's a comic book guy. Like, it was his idea to put Robin in the kind of Nightwing suit, because he was like a fan of Nightwing. Because the Robin suit in this movie does not look like Robin. It looks more like Nightwing.
Yeah.
The design of it.
And I'll admit, I actually like the Robin logo.
Like the R and stuff? Or the
bird.
Oh, yeah.
When at the opening of the movie,
and
the Robin logo comes on top of it. That's a cool looking logo. I'm going to give him that one.
If you're going to compliment this movie, I will say the logo of the bat symbol with the Robin logo in front is actually pretty good design.
Mm-hmm.
However, I'm not a big fan of Robin in the very opening fight scene. Robin crashing through the wall with his motorcycle,
Right.
and the Robin symbol is the hole. Like, that was a little ridiculous.
I noticed that for the first time
Really?
this viewing. Yes, I just my jaw dropped.
Yeah.
But it didn't drop as much as it did when I, a few minutes later, saw them click their heels together like Dorothy
Yep.
and get a pair of ice skates, for whom they had never heard of Mr. Freeze.
Yes, correct.
Yet they had ice skates in their boots.
And that just, like, it makes me feel like we went from campy Adam West Batman, which was great at the time, to dark Tim Burton Batman, and then back to campy again. And it's, in those campy Batman episodes, he's always got the right gadget at the right time. He's got the shark repellent, when he needs it and stuff.
But it's supposed to be funny.
It's supposed to be funny. That's true. And you could look at this. I mean, it's still a horrible failure, but you could look at this as a comedy. This new one, Batman and Robin, perhaps. I mean, you think about all those lines.
I don't think so, man. This was. I can't see it being a comedy.
I could see them trying to, like, say that it's a comedy, but like I said, it doesn't work.
Batman, the show with Adam West, was a comedy that you were supposed to laugh at.
Sure.
You were supposed to laugh at its silliness. This one I can see being a comedy, yes, because of all the one-liners and stuff, but you're supposed to be laughing along with the comments.
Right.
The witty remarks and one-liners,
right.
not the ice skates. That was not supposed to be funny. Right.
Yeah, I guess you could. It's just, I mean, to me it just went back to the campy nature of having the right gadgets at the right time. Like, I mean, him whipping out the Batman credit card, never leave the cave without it. Like,
and of course that was supposed to be funny.
Sure, but I mean, still, at the same time, like, why do you have a Batman credit card? I also like how in these movies, and it's, similar to the Adam West, I guess you could say again, how Batman and Robin go to these, like, events, and, like, they're, like, the guests of honor at these places, and nobody has figured it out, like, who they are. Like, there's really very little disguise involved. Like, yes, he's still wearing a mask, and Robin is wearing a mask that covers very little of his face, and nobody's really put together that it's Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson. Especially when Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson don't even show up to an event where they are auctioning off the Wayne diamonds or whatever it is.
Right. That reminds me, too, of the scene where Barbara Wilson, Batgirl, comes running up to them for the first time, and Batman's like, "Who are you, Batwoman?" And she's like, "Bruce, it's me, Barbara."
Yeah, I hate the way she says it, too. "Bruce, it's me, Barbara." Oh, my God. So terrible. And I have, obviously, they changed. I have an issue with Batgirl being in this movie in general, just because I feel like she's so unneeded. She's unnecessary, I guess. But if you're going to have Batgirl, it's really even more bothersome that they changed her origin. And they made it Alfred's... They made it Alfred's, like, niece or something. Mm-hmm. Uncle Alfred. And how long has Alfred been Bruce Wayne's butler and he's never heard of this woman? It seems a little weird. And so... And I guess it's, Commissioner Gordon has never really been as big of a character in these movies as he is in the comics and how he is in the Nolan movies. So I guess that's why they decided not to give her real origin, which is being Commissioner Gordon's daughter. But you'd think they would have. I mean, they had to tie it into this weird storyline with Alfred dying and having that McGregor syndrome or something.
Wasn't it the same thing that
Mr. Freeze?
Yeah, of course it was.
Yeah.
Right,
the same thing that his wife has. Yeah, because that's how they cure him or something.
Right.
Spoiler alert.
I will say, I was right. Don't spoil this movie for people, man. That was a very touching moment. The one moment I did enjoy was when Bruce and Alfred were talking. He was laying in bed, and Bruce Wayne tells him, "I love you." Mm-hmm. And then Alfred replies the same. "I love you too." Yeah. That was a nice. I'm surprised I even cared, because I don't care about the characters whatsoever. But I did. That was a moving moment.
Yeah. Is that the only time in the films that Bruce and Alfred said "I love you" to each other?
Pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
And I think that's what was so touching about it. Alfred was kind of tearing up, and you could just see.
Yeah.
And not to mention, Michael Goff had been playing Alfred
since '89.
Almost 10 years, 8 years, and he though the writing for this movie wasn't good, and that includes the writing for Alfred. He gave that character his all.
Yeah.
And you could see it.
Yeah, I've always liked Michael Goff as Alfred. I thought he was, they didn't. This movie, I guess you could say they gave him the most to do, because he had that whole storyline revolving around him about him getting that disease. In the other movies, he's really just mostly a butler. Doesn't really do much.
Right.
But I've always liked him as Alfred. I thought he was always really good, especially in Batman, the original.
Right.
So in this film, we replace Val Kilmer with George Clooney. What do you think about George Clooney as Batman? I know it's hard to really give you, not a fan of his at all. Huh?
No, and I've always been off and on with George Clooney. Actually, I haven't always been off and on with George Clooney, because for the longest time, I was not a George Clooney fan.
In general?
In general. I've grown to appreciate him a little bit more over the years. He's still not my favorite. But I think, maybe I'm being biased. What do you think of George Clooney as Batman?
As Batman, I don't think he's a very good choice as Batman. I used to think he was a really good Bruce Wayne. But now I'm not even really sure I like him as Bruce Wayne. It's really not his fault. I think George Clooney is a good actor. I've enjoyed most of the stuff that I've seen him in. But it's just, I think it's just the way it's written, really, and he just kind of plays. You don't really feel I feel like there's got to be a dark side. I mean, I'm trying to think of an emotional scarring. You know what I mean? He's this person whose parents were murdered right in front of him, and that would do something to you, and you don't really get that from George Clooney's portrayal of Bruce Wayne or Batman.
It's almost like a 1950s dad.
Right, yeah.
To a degree. He's just very...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I think, that's partly because, like I said, it's the way it's written as well. It's more family-friendly. They don't even, obviously they're not going to talk about... I mean, it's the fourth Batman movie, so how many times are you going to talk about Bruce's parents being murdered in front of him? But at the same time, you look at, The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Rises, and he still has kind of that... just kind of that brooding...
Depressed.
Yeah, kind of thing about him. And so, you don't get that in this movie at all.
No, he's a very happy guy. And,
right.
Like I was going to say, he's just almost like a Leave It to Beaver dad.
Right.
Robin, what did we learn today?
Right. Have you done your homework?
So.
And,
you cannot have a car.
Oh, speaking of cars, one of my least favorite things that sequels do is I hate when sequels reuse jokes. And That's one of my beefs with Jurassic Park 3. It reused a couple jokes from the first movie. But in this one, the movie starts off with a recycled joke, which is you see the Batmobile come up, and Robin goes, "I want a car. Chicks dig the car," which is a joke from Batman Forever where Nicole Kidman is hitting on him, and he's like, "It's the car, right? Chicks dig the car."
That's true.
So it just makes you, right off the bat, it's not a good sign. Right off the bat, you're rolling your eyes. You're like, ugh, we've heard that joke before. And then, of course...
Right, not to mention, you've got this whiny Robin.
Right.
I mean,
I want a car.
Right, it's just, oh. And
other thing I noticed
throughout the movie, he's like that.
Yeah. The other thing I noticed about the opening scene is that it takes a really long time, number one, for them to get ready, and number two, for the Batmobile to rise up, and then after he gets in the Batmobile and drives off, it takes like another 45 seconds or something for the Robin's motorcycle to come up and get like unveiled. Which has
all of these neon lights inside the casing. Yeah. There's this big
the
display and show.
Right. So, in reality, obviously this movie you can't think in terms of reality, but Mr. Freeze would probably be done with the robbery by the time they got out of the Batcave, because that also is a really long driveway or whatever tunnel that they're driving through. They're driving through it forever. They live 50 miles from Gotham City or something, and they would get there and they'd be like, "Oh, we missed it? Oh, sorry."
I love how he caught up to Batman's Batmobile too. With the Batmobile has 6 turbo jets on the back, and here comes Robin with his motorcycle, his little tricycle.
He goes slow so Robin can catch up, but then he obviously left him again because Batman gets to Mr. Freeze 3 minutes before Robin does. Either that or Robin's just sitting outside waiting for the right moment to come crashing through the wall.
And the hockey players did the same thing.
That's true.
It's it's Mr. Freeze, Robin getting the diamond, and then Batman and Robin show up, and then all of a sudden he's clapping his hands, and then all of a sudden all these hockey players just come out from behind nowhere. They were just chilling out.
He's like, "Look, I might not need you guys, but you should probably come just in case.
You guys go play a game of poker."
My hands. Right. Let's talk about Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy.
Okay.
Again, normally kind of like Uma Thurman as an actress. She's good in Pulp Fiction, obviously. Here, it's funny because she's really overacting in this movie, but it kind of works because I think she realizes how stupid it is almost, and so she's just like, if I'm going to do this, I got to go huge, otherwise it's going to be stupid. I mean, it still is stupid, but it's just there's
she was overplaying.
Yeah, a
lot.
And
I can see what you're saying. Yeah,
but it's almost like she had
where
to.
It was intentional.
Right. So, her performance is hard to watch in my opinion, just because it's so over the top and everything. But
the most over the top line: "So little time, so many people to kill."
How to give this guy the Oscar for this movie? Not A Beautiful Mind. Akiva Goldsman was actually a pretty good writer. I think he was hired obviously to write this movie, and I actually had his IMDb up here. I actually thought he had been writing earlier than this, but his first credit, unless my phone is messing up, is The Client from 1994, which was a Joel Schumacher film, which is really good. And then he, co-wrote Batman Forever. He wrote A Time to Kill, which was really good. And then he did this movie, and then he did Lost in Space, which also not very good. But then he won an Oscar for A Beautiful Mind, and then he did Cinderella Man, which was a good movie. And then he did The Da Vinci Code. So most of his movies are kind of just okay, but yeah, I don't, this movie.
He's writing Transformers 5?
Well, is it going to have Arnold Schwarzenegger in it? I hope Arnold Schwarzenegger is
directed by Joel Schumacher. No, I'm kidding.
He is writing Transformers 5.
Yeah.
I actually remember reading about that, how he's got like a bunch of writers under him, or he's overseeing a bunch of writers that are putting together kind of a creative team for the Transformers movies, which let those movies just kind of stop. I enjoyed the first one. It's kind of a guilty pleasure. Actually, a couple of them are guilty pleasures, but the last one was pretty bad. Did you see the last one?
I've only seen the first 3.
Okay, so you just haven't seen
And
the Mark
the reason
Wahlberg
I
one.
haven't seen the 4th one is lack of interest.
Right. Well, it's on Netflix now. It's going to be our next
I know.
episode.
I just can't bring myself to. Yeah. But that's another group of movies that we'll do.
Sure. Yeah.
Transformers, or at least the first one, but because it's not a comic book movie, and we can get away with not doing them all.
Right.
No, I'm kidding. We should do all of them. If we're going to do one of a group, we should probably do them all.
Do the whole series.
Mm-hmm.
The Batmobile.
Maybe. No, I don't like the Batmobile at all.
I have an
Now,
issue
actually,
with this.
I will say I take that back. It's an awesome looking car,
Yeah.
but not as the Batmobile.
Right. It's
not
really
a good Batmobile.
It's an interesting design. I have when Batman. I didn't get the original Batman Batmobile or Batman Returns Batmobile, but I got them later as an adult. I got them like off eBay. So I now have. They're in Georgia. I wish I had a place to like display them out here. I would get them out here. But I've got the Batmobile from Batman, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin, Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, and then I've got like the Bat from The Dark Knight Rises. So it'd be really cool to have like the display of Batmobiles. And you can actually... Oh, I also have the Batman Animated Series Batmobile, too. So as a toy, it was kind of cool. It looked pretty cool. But it's really impractical. It's so big and long, and it only fits one person. Like, Batman could never have a passenger. Like, what if Robin's motorcycle got busted? And he needed a ride back. He'd be like, sorry, buddy, you gotta walk.
That's right.
I only built this thing for one.
I thought it had 2 seats.
I'm pretty sure if you watch that opening scene where he gets in the Batmobile, there's that camera shot that goes right in on George Clooney. He's sitting like right in the middle. I think it only has 1 seat.
But you're probably right. It was just there was one shot when he was driving that it looked to me like he had some space
Had a
over
second
to
seat.
his side. But yeah, but I guess I'm wrong.
It also has no... It's a convertible. And I'm assuming he has no roof. Like, it's not like he just had the top off for this evening. He's like, oh, it's a nice night. I'll take the top off the Batmobile.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think he's just... If it's raining in Gotham, he's going to get wet.
And he's updated it. You know,
Right.
he has the shields like he did in the '89 Batman, and he's
Right.
like, I don't want to cover my entire car. I just want a wing to come up and deflect things.
Yeah. That's
Much
all.
better idea. Much safer.
Yeah. I actually was a fan of the Batman Forever Batmobile, even though it has that kind of big fin on it and it looks a little silly. I thought that one was kind of cool. And this one, I think, goes a little too cartoony, I would say.
Yeah. But they were kind of similar. I mean, you got 3 fins on this one.
Right.
So this one's kind of like the Batman Forever Batmobile on steroids almost.
Right.
And they were like, we've got neon on everything else. Let's put it inside the engines.
Let's do it. Let's make it so that everybody can see us coming from a mile away. Batman.
I mean,
in
it's
this
not like
movie-
they're going to be able to hear him with the 6 turbo jets. But
That's very true. That's very true. No element of surprise that this Batman has. That was very, very Yoda speak right there.
this Batman was not a part of the League of Assassins.
That's right. That is absolutely correct. Never even heard of it. Well, that's in this universe. I can't imagine this. That was another thing I thought of at the end of the movie when Barbara is saying she's going to be like their new partner. You know. And Robin's like, "You're not going to win this battle, Bruce." And Bruce just kind of gives in right away. In this universe, there is no way that Bruce Wayne went off to some other country in his 20s and learned how to fight from the League of Shadows, like in Batman Begins, because he just lets. I mean, that's not to say that that he wasn't trained, but I feel like in this one he was probably trained by Alfred or something, because Robin had it showed Robin had acrobatic kind of moves and stuff from Batman Forever. Barbara has she can ride a motorcycle. That's the only thing she can ride a motorcycle, and she has computer skills, which she does have computer skills in the comics and stuff too. But she really doesn't have any other fighting skills that you really know of. She just happens to be a good fighter, apparently, and so he doesn't care if they've been trained or not. He's like, yeah, sure, why not? You can be Batgirl. Put your life in danger every night. Who cares? I'm sure Alfred will be fine with it. Which I guess Alfred was fine with it because he made her the suit and everything.
He was. He made the suit.
Yeah.
Just in case you discovered what was going on, I prepared a suit for you.
I had a feeling you'd want to put a suit on and risk your life.
And I'm okay with that. I'm going to encourage it.
Not only am I okay with it, I think you should do it. I don't know why my Alfred sounded a little like Bane right there. No, I think you should do it.
Speaking of Alfred, and I didn't know this actually, he mentions his brother's name. Wilfred.
Wilfred and Alfred.
Wilfred and Alfred. I was like, these guys are brilliant writers. But it turns out that Wilfred was in some of the Batman comics back in the 70s. I looked it up. Yeah,
Wilfred is an actual character.
They did not. Wilfred is an actual brother of Alfred.
I wonder if Akiva Goldsman was like, all right, so I need the brother of Alfred. Did some research. He's like, okay, Wilfred. He's like, I can't believe I'm typing this. Wilfred, my brother, Wilfred. Wilfred Pennyworth.
Wilfred.
I wonder if Akiva Goldsman typed up the script with all those ice puns and everything and was like, I can't believe I'm writing this. This is awful. And he turns it in and he's like, I'm going to get fired. And he's like, there's no way. And they were like, this is brilliant. We love it. And he was like, really? Cashes his paycheck and he's like, don't call me. You already gave me the money.
Better yet, he was actually trying to get fired.
Right.
He's like, I don't want to do this next Batman. I'm just going to write something that's awful, turn it in, they'll get a new guy to write it. This is brilliant! Get Arnold Schwarzenegger!
We've
got one-liners.
It's, No. I was going to say, it's entertaining if you think about it as being a bad movie, so bad it's good. But it's really not. It doesn't even quite achieve that level.
No, like I said, I was for 5 minutes, and then it just died.
Yeah,
and then it's just facepalm after facepalm. There's so many things. I mean, we're probably, if we really went on and continued about all the bad things that happened in this movie, we'd probably be a quarter of the way done with this podcast.
Right.
It's just but we haven't even gone over. We talked a little bit about Bane, but
yeah,
just his stupidity, and we didn't really talk about.
He was basically like Frankenstein's monster. He was
exactly,
and not the Frankenstein's monster from the book, who's actually teaches himself how to, I think, read and talk and whatnot, is somewhat intelligent. Frankenstein's monster from the films,
right?
The Boris Karloff,
the original, right.
And so
grunting, just baboon. It's a shame, but then again, it really doesn't matter because the whole movie's bad,
right?
So, like I said, I don't even care. I like to pretend like this movie doesn't exist, which I'm sure most people agree with that.
Yeah, I would probably.
It's something you do watch though, like once a decade.
To remind yourself.
Yeah. And
how bad it is.
Man,
how bad
I had forgotten. I had really forgotten. I knew it was bad, but I like how it was showing Mr. Freeze, Victor Freeze, before he becomes Mr. Freeze, and he's first they have the camera footage of his accident, which was very
cheesy,
convenient,
right?
But I love how there was no railing.
Yeah, right.
Just to protect him from falling into the vault of sub-zero temperature liquid, whatever it was he fell in. He just trips and falls in there. Another thing I wrote down was the event where they're having the fundraising event, where they're trying to entice Mr. Freeze to come and steal the diamond.
Yes.
I love how Batman and Robin have no regard for the people there. They're like, let's set up a booby trap, and we'll just have all these people come and not warn them.
We won't tell them that this is a trap for Mr. Freeze. So when Mr. Freeze shows up, all of their lives will be in danger. But it's okay, because we're Batman and Robin. We got it. We can handle it.
Oh, what's another thing I wrote down?
There's a character in this movie who's like a reporter or something, and she's, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, because I think she was in Batman Forever as well, I believe she was Bob Kane's wife in real life. But
really?
She plays, I think so. I could be wrong about that.
The lady that thinks she's best friends with Bruce Wayne?
Yeah. And when Poison Ivy first shows up and says something about no one will be able to protect you, and she's like, don't you know? Batman and Robin protect us.
Right.
I think that's Bob
Even
Kane's wife.
from
Yeah,
plants.
if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, gotcha. That's cool. That changes, because I was like, man, she is so annoying.
Yeah,
but if she's Bob Kane's wife, I'll give her some credit.
You're right. You can let it slide. I'm almost positive. I'm going to look it up right now, but I'm almost positive that's Bob Kane's wife.
Another thing, Mr. Freeze is going around collecting all these diamonds. And his plan is to get a giant laser gun, which I don't remember if his plan the entire time was to use Bruce Wayne's telescope. But that's what ends up happening.
Right.
And he's going to freeze Gotham City, and then he's going to hold the city ransom. Why don't you just sell the diamonds?
Because he needs them to freeze. Wait a minute. I guess that's what
These
you would
diamonds
call
are the size of your hand.
Plot hole.
They're worth a lot of money.
Yes. And isn't it it diamonds that he needs to power his suit?
Yeah, but he uses little tiny ones.
Right, he doesn't need the big ones.
These big ones are the ones that he needs to have enough energy to freeze Gotham City.
Right.
And they're huge diamonds.
Rather than making millions off of those huge diamonds.
Yeah.
Well, he's not very bright, I guess, that Dr. Freeze.
No, he was able to build a suit to sustain his life. He was able to freeze his wife so that he could come up with a cure, and he came up with a cure for stage 1 of her disease. But man, he's not good financially.
No, not good with money. Not good with money, that Dr. Freeze, that Mr.
He's not good with money.
That's funny. I was correct.
Wait, here's a pun for you. I bet they put a freeze on his bank account.
Oh!
Thank you.
And that's all we have time for now, so we're going to end on that high note. No, I was correct. That was Bob Kane's wife. So, yeah, she played Gossip Gertie in Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. She also apparently was an extra or something. She played Gothamite number 4 or something like that in Batman Returns.
Interesting. I wonder why she wasn't in the first one.
I don't know. The only other we discussed Batman Forever before, so we've already talked about bat suits with nipples on it. So we don't really need to go into detail there. I hate the suits that they change into at the end of the film. Those, for no reason. Like, at least in Batman Forever, he had a reason for getting into that other suit. All the other bat suits were destroyed, and he had, like, the prototype with the sonar modifications that he hadn't tested yet, you know? But in this one, I don't believe they have any reason to get into these other suits. They just are all of a sudden in these silver suits.
Yeah. Yeah. And
so
I like the concept of the suits, kind of like I like the concept for the Batmobile. But for something
silver suits at the end or the regular ones?
What I'm going to say is they should not be Batman suits.
Right.
Like if you were to make like a sci-fi film.
Oh yeah.
And had like Robin's suit, that would, you know, it's not a bad suit, but to put Batman and Robin and Batgirl in those suits, it looks stupid and it's cheesy.
It's awful.
Yeah.
I will say I do, like you said, I kind of like the Robin design, the Nightwing kind of costume in this film. Mm-hmm. Although I do kind of wish that we had, like, it's a bummer that he shows up at the end of Batman Forever as Robin, so you only get the final 30 minutes of him in the classic Robin suit, if you will, and then we jumped ahead to kind of Nightwing. But other than that, yeah, I don't really care for the design of the suit, especially the end suits.
Yeah. What'd you think about how the movie ended? Thawing out Gotham City.
Well, obviously he's got to thaw out Gotham City. You can't just let it freeze. So, what do they do? Like, use like a couple of different satellites or something and get like a reflection from the sun?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. It's stupid. It's dumb. I don't know. It's just cheesy all around. The whole movie's cheesy, so it's just like
exactly.
I mean, honestly, I tuned out. Like you were talking about how like you kind of were enjoying it for like a comedy factor at the beginning. I think I was in the same boat where you were, and I honestly am having trouble remembering the end of the movie because I think I just stopped paying attention.
Well, do you remember the two scientists that were holding on to the telescope?
Yes, I do. Yes,
for dear life.
He doesn't even like bother to save them. He's just like, "You guys good?"
He just looks at him. And he goes, "Hold on." No, at first he goes, "Are you guys okay?" They're like, they actually do it like this. Yes, and he's like, "Hold on," and then they're dangling over. First, they're inside the building, and then when he moves the telescope, they're dangling outside of the building. Like 20 stories.
Worst Batman ever.
So, yeah, those are my thoughts as well. That about covers it for me, too.
Yeah. Rating. I'll go first.
Okay.
I think this is going to be the first F rating I give. I think this one... You got to give this one an F. I just don't think it really doesn't have much redeeming qualities. So, I give it an F. It's a fail.
I concur. And with my five-star review system, I will give it a 1 star. Because Netflix doesn't give 0 stars.
That's right.
And 1 star means I hate it.
That's right. That is actually what I rated it on Netflix.
Me too. And what's funny is when I pulled it up to watch the movie, I had already rated it 1 star.
That's cool. That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, we'd love to know what you think about Batman and Robin. Do you love it? Do you think there's redeeming qualities about it? Or do you hate it along with the rest of us? We'd love to hear your thoughts. You can leave us a comment on cinemaheroes.com, or you can go to facebook.com/SM&SM podcast, or you can throw us a line on Twitter @CinemaHeroes. I think that about wraps this episode up. I'm Justin Speck.
I'm John Pelzel.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for downloading.